Okay, we are live on PrepXtra Live, post-game show.
Live
talking
on PrepXtra Live.
Yeah, live on PrepXtra Live, the post-game show, talking about the first round of the CIF Southern Section football playoffs. Tonight they are in the books, ladies and gentlemen, and per the usual, there were some pretty incredible results tonight, to say the least. And we can assume that a lot of you have already seen the score, so we're not going to do too much in the way of scoreboard reading tonight for people, guys. But one place that we should probably start, right off the top is La Mirada.
Southeast Division.
The Southeast Division, number 2 overall seed, loses tonight at home to at-large fourth place team from the Angeles League, Salesian. This is not one that anyone saw coming, really. I mean, I wrote a story today that previewed the game, and I had spoke to Mike Machete about this, the head coach at La Mirada. And the whole lead of the story was about how they got a rough draw. They drew, a very good fourth place, not hopeless, at-large team. But nonetheless, all of us had picked La Mirada to make it to the final game. I picked them to win the actual thing. And I think most people's brackets had La Mirada St. Francis in the finals.
Well, mine did.
Well, yours might be coming into some pain as well. And so might everybody. But we'll get into that just a second about St. Francis. But first, let's talk about this La Mirada game. 24-18, Salesian goes there and wins the game. This is a game that Salesian basically led the whole way. La Mirada tied it in the fourth quarter, 18-all. Then Salesian took the lead late in the game. And
I was watching some of your tweets, Aram, and you'd said they had a few touchdowns called back. Is that right, La Mirada?
Yeah, this is unofficial, very unofficial, that they had 3 touchdowns in the first half called back, and they had one, I believe, at the end of the game as well that would have given them the lead to break the 18-all tie. A touchdown to Tony Brown that was called back on a penalty. None of us were there, so we don't know what the officiating exactly was. But I know a lot of La Mirada fans were very disappointed and not happy with it. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is your final score, Fred. I mean,
this is unbelievable. And I don't really want to hear. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I mean, I think at the beginning of the year, you wouldn't be surprised that Salesian is in the quarterfinals. But the way they played this year, they never kind of met the expectations of challenging St. Francis in the Angeles League.
Not just St. Francis.
Cathedral.
Harvard Westlake. They were 4-6.
And the way La Mirada had played all year long, they only stubbed their toe against Servite, who's in the Pac-5 playoffs. And so it's just a shocking result.
I'm absolutely shocked, Steve, and I don't want to hear that this was a tough draw, or this was a tough team. I mean, this is La Mirada to me that had a lot to prove coming off last year. Last year there was a lot of hype with that team, and they fell flat on their face. They didn't do anything in the playoffs. This year was supposed to be the year. It was completely different. They had a great regular season. They won league. I mean, they really stormed into the playoffs. As a number 2 seed in a division that you really thought they were capable of getting to the finals. All 3 of us had them in the finals. This is a big blow to me for Mike Machete and his team. I mean, this is for 2 straight years, not even threatening, not even banging on the door.
Right.
This is a tough one for them to swallow.
They've also had some. Well, I mean, let's just start with.
Don't make excuses for them.
No excuses for them. They did have that fantastic regular season, but as we saw tonight, and I had brought this up, I believe to you guys, I brought this up on a podcast that I did with some other guys at another media outlet this week, and I'll say it again tonight. We brought this up. Number 1, in the playoffs, you don't have to be the better team. You just have to be the better team for 48 minutes. Number 2. When you look at a team like La Mirada, Freddie and Stevie, they played a bunch of blowouts in the league. They don't have that close game unless you go all the way back to the Tesoro game, really. They were blown out by Servite. They blew out Charter Oak. I guess that La Habra game was close for a little while in the non-league. But when you don't play a competitive game for 6-7 weeks and all of a sudden you find yourself in a slug-out, in a slugfest, and you get hit, you start to wonder, do we have what it takes to hit back? Now, I'm not condoning being 4-6 or winning or losing, playing a lot of close games, but you need that 1 or 2 close games. Teams that have that desperate moment late in the year and pull it out, they seem to do better in the playoffs when it's desperate time than teams that all of a sudden get deer in the headlight type of looks on themselves. I'm not saying that happened to La Mirada tonight, but they hadn't had a close game. They finally get one and they lose it.
Well, they had to have a close game because they were good. They were really good.
Well, the league wasn't. The league didn't win a game tonight. The entire Suburban League is out as of tonight.
And check this other score out. You know Salesia's going to play? Burbank, the Pacific number 3, who beats El Rancho 38-34. That's another surprise to me. El Rancho looks so good. You know, they'd beaten Lucerna earlier in the year. So you've got it already in that quarterfinal. Burbank at Salesian next week. Ain't no one had that on their board.
No, and that ruined, at least for us, newspaper wise or coverage wise. We wanted that La Mirada El Rancho game because that would have been huge for the area. But Stevie, El Rancho, the season they had this year, their kind of dream season. They win the Del Rio League. They get a home field game against a Burbank team that wasn't that impressive. Although they were in the semifinals last year, they were playing this year without their best running back. And they had made tough work of it. They were not very impressive at all in the Pacific League this year. And look what happens.
And look who's in the second round from the Whittier area again. It's Lucerna who beat Dominguez in a close game. You gotta hand it.
I'm looking at this whole Southeast draw, Aram. I mean, for our area, there's really 2 teams left, and they play next week. I mean, St. Francis won. St. Francis won tonight, 49-14 over Mayfair. Lucerna sneaks by Dominguez, 24-21. So next week, St. Francis at Lucerna. In a quarterfinal game. And real quick, the other games that division, other quarterfinals, Crescenta Valley wins. They win pretty big tonight.
Over Harvard Westlake?
Over Harvard Westlake.
I actually picked Harvard Westlake in that game.
What was the final in that game?
Well, we're not going to have it on our local thing.
Crescenta Valley beat Paramount. Downey will be at Cathedral. Those are your 8 teams left in the Southeast Division.
Well, Cathedral beat Muir, we should mention. The Mustangs got their rematch against Cathedral. That didn't work out well for them.
36-22.
At all. Downey, they beat California. And then we talked about the bottom of the bracket.
51-20.
If you're La Mirada, Fred and Steve, this was a team that last year, like Freddie said, took a lot of heat. They were very public in their excitement for the season, and they fell on their face, like Fred said. They went 4-7 overall. They were blown out by Muir in the first round of playoffs. Now, this year they had gotten a transfer at quarterback in Christian Lara from Santa Fe. They had gotten a transfer at wide receiver in Tony Brown from Servite. They had gotten another transfer from St. John Bosco as another receiver, Robert Caggiano. And they had another transfer, another offensive weapon, a kid named Landon Jones. They had brought in all these transfers to kind of upgrade where they needed to upgrade, and everything worked well. And now this happens. To me, I know a lot of people out there had kind of, said to me, through emails or mostly text messages that, La Mirada basically recruited or, got transferred their way to a, big season and this and that. And I know those people are probably very happy tonight, popping the bubbly. But what happens as a program when you have those types of players come in and then this happens tonight?
Well, it's not good. It's not good, Aaron. But, Machetti's still a guy who fights for his players, and he's going to get them out there, and college is going to look at players. But you can't keep losing. You've got to be able to win in the playoffs. I mean, there's no way around it. When you have talent like they do in a division that's really winnable, I mean, this is going to sit with them a lot longer than the season they had last year. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, and that one sat with them for a long time. So really incredible. And there were also some people tonight that were saying to me that's not an upset. That's not a huge upset, I should say, because this was the best league in the division.
This is one of the
Salesian
problems.
was going D1 as of spring.
This is one of the problems, I'd say, Aaron, with some of the at-large bursts. You're taking the best available team left from all of these leagues, and usually it's the best team left from the best league, which in this case is a team like Salesian. So when you're a number 2 seed, that's a lot tougher game than some of the other third place teams that you're really going to get.
But who are they going to get? Because
there's no way around that really.
That's
why Long Beach Poly played Servite tonight and barely won that game in the Pac-5. That happens playing good at large.
Their only other chance was to get California, the third place team, out of the Del Rio League, because St. Francis was number 1, but they were not going to get the at-large because it was from their league.
Right.
So
there wasn't a lot left.
There wasn't.
But look, if you think you're a team that's going to win it, you've got to win those games.
Yeah,
bottom
you do.
line.
At the bottom.
That's at the end of the day.
Refereeing aside,
there are other teams we can talk about tonight that had quote unquote tough draws.
Right.
Northview was one last night against Brentwood, 8-2, and they took care of business like you're supposed to. But let's move on.
Okay, we are moving on, but wait, one last thing. Now we need to talk about this from that division, Southeast Division tonight. St. Francis beats Mayfair, but here's the kicker, and this was the bubble that I don't want to burst for people and you guys as well. St. Francis quarterback, I'm getting it from a very, very, very good source. Jeremiah Martin, who hadn't thrown an interception this year, injured his collarbone tonight and is likely out for the rest of the season.
Wow.
That's the word that I'm hearing tonight. A possible, likely broken collarbone, and he's done for the rest of the regular season, which is a horrible blow. I mean, this is a kid that, waited his turn. He had been behind some good guys, like Ganji last year, and he stepped right in, didn't throw an interception, had a heck of a season. And
he sat out last year.
Mark, okay, did he? Okay, all right. Was he a transfer?
No.
Okay.
He's always been in the program, but he kind of gave up on football last year.
Okay.
And then they talked him back into it, I believe.
Well,
and,
I mean, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, he really, and this is like a Chris Ricks protege. He had worked with Chris Ricks, and obviously Coach Bonds, the man at developing QBs, got this guy ready to go, and he was having a heck of a year. I'm pretty confident in what I'm saying. We hope that it's not true, but if it is, I don't know who steps in. That could be Miles Bryant, the transfer from Monrovia.
He's their number 2 guy.
I think he is there too.
I think I've seen him 3 times, and he's had mop-up duty in all 3 games that I've covered for him. So
that could further throw the Southeast Division for a loop tonight. So that's a very bad development.
That's crazy.
There for St.
You look at the teams left. St. Francis next week. There's your biggie.
Right. Now let's move on, Freddie. Do you want to talk Pac-5 now?
We could go Pac-5 real quick. Bishop Vermont. This was as expected, but what wasn't as expected for me is. Ryder Ruiz started his 3rd straight game tonight, the junior who replaced Damien Garcia. And the word I'm hearing out of Bishop Vermont is that Garcia had cracked ribs. He's probably not going to be back the rest of the playoffs, or what people are saying tonight.
Yeah.
But, part of the lead of my story was, Ryder Ruiz is playing so well, this guy's not a backup anymore.
Right.
In the first quarter, he threw Aram for over 220 yards and 3 touchdowns. By halftime, he had 318 yards. He winds up finishing with 416 yards. 4 touchdowns.
Is that the record? I know Rio.
No, he was chasing the record. He had his 400 yards towards the end of the 3rd quarter. Then the 4th quarter becomes a running clock. They're handing the ball off. It's one of those things. If you really wanted to chase it, he could have got it, just like maybe Damien Garcia could have had it.
Right.
It's this offense. It's these receivers, man. You get those guys the ball and they do the rest.
Yeah, they're electric.
And Ryder kind of said that after the game. Like there's nothing. They're just getting the ball to the right guys, and they're just managing the game, and everyone else is doing the rest. Their defense was good tonight. The speed gave them a little bit of problems, but look, this was a game you knew Almont was going to get by. And look, it's on to Jay Serra, who won their game pretty easily tonight. That game is going to be at Saddleback College next week, and that's a team ranked 7th in the country. And I'll go down really quick.
I think they're number 2 in Cal High Sports.
That's going to be. I'll just go through the Pac-5 real quick. St. John Bosco won 50-0. Norco beat St. Bonaventure 71-70 in 3 overtimes.
Wow.
That's St. John Norco next week. Crespi beats Santa Margarita 38-13. Long Beach Poly survived Servite. I almost called that upset, 34-33. You got Corona Centennial. Check this out. Beating Sarah 68-64. Unbelievable. Modern Day 28-7 over Westlake. Almont wins, and J. Sarah won 55-16. So next week, you got Bishop Vermont at J. Sarah, Corona Centennial at Modern Day. That's Almont's group of 4 to get to the finals on top. St. John Bosco at Norco, Long Beach at Crespi, and the Mission goes 2 for 3 and almost went 3 for 3, which is a good showing for the Mission.
Yes. Yeah, and that was the thing that I was looking at tonight, was to see not only how Amat did, but the rest of the league did it out. Now, like you said, the record was 2 and 3, but here's the thing. Crespi scores 38, Amat scores at will and has a running clock, and then Sarah scores 64. This was a Sarah team that didn't always score points.
Scored 7 points against Amat.
In the Mission League. But tonight they score 64, I guess Fred said. So that's a very good sign as far as how the Mission stacks up to the Trinity, which we're going to find out a lot more about next week.
And I wouldn't worry about quarterback issues with Amat. I mean, I think they're fine, whether it's going to be Ryder or Damian Garcia.
Well, yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like they can get balls to the receivers they want to, whenever they want to. But, hey, you're stepping up in class next week.
Now, as far as our do they belong in the Pac-5 debate.
Oh, that's completely, you can't argue that anymore.
What?
You can stop, Aaron.
Well, I was just about to say you can no longer argue technically that they don't belong in it, because here's the playoff win. Now, I know it came against Lakewood, but still, this was the playoff win.
They're a top 8 team now.
Yeah, they're a top 8 team. There's technically no argument anymore, even for me to make. Now, in my heart of hearts, do I think the program, not this team, but the program belongs there? Maybe, maybe not, but you can't make the argument anymore, because this is that playoff win that, you look at, I saw Steve Fryer talking about Los Alamitos this week and how they're 1-8 in the playoffs since 2004. And Los Alamitos was a team that got moved out of the Pac-5 and argued against it. And then Glenn Martinez from CIF, I heard him basically shoot them down by talking about the lack of wins in the division. Well, there is no arguing this anymore. I mean, the argument's there. I was wrong. Amat belongs in the Pac-5. They punched their ticket tonight. I could sit here and say, hey, we all knew who was going to win going in, but you could draw anything, Fred. I mean, you could have drawn, a team from the Big 8, a team from the Trinity. They drew who they drew. They won the game big. They certainly belong, and the argument's pretty much done.
And now the argument turns into, can they do it? Can they do more? Because they're going to get Jay Sarah next week.
I don't see why they can't be competitive.
This is the game. Yeah, this is where you find out exactly where Bishop Amat is. You find out where they are in the big picture of Southern California heavyweights going to Jay Sarah. I mean, they win a game like this, Aram, then you have to believe they can win anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Are they going to be competitive next week? I have to believe, just watching what they've done in the last 6 games, the 6-game winning streak, that they are. I mean, Amat, think about this. For a team that's won 5, has 5 championships on their resume, they're going to try to get to the semifinals next week just for the first time since 1998. It's been a long drought. I mean, it's here next week. And who can believe it's Ryder Ruiz, not Rio Ruiz, who's going to have a chance to punch that ticket.
I know one person that can, Rudy Ruiz.
Rudy Ruiz.
Rudy knew it all along.
During that first quarter, Rudy, he sits right below the press box. I was kind of feeding him what was going on. I swear the guy's eyes were welling up. He was just so proud, and his son is such a, I was talking to Ryder afterward, and
he's so humble.
Extremely humble. I mean, and shy. That you can't believe that this guy is, a quarterback who's on with just 3 weeks of work. He had about 300 yards in the finale that you were at against Notre Dame, just followed by another 400 yard a week. I mean, the guy in 3 starts has nearly got 1,000 yards. I mean, it's unbelievable.
He struggled a little bit in the first half against Loyola when I saw them, but you could see towards the end of that second quarter, the light kind of went on for him. And then in the second half, he was doing things like not taking sacks. He was moving around, then throwing. You could tell his comfort level just came around. He got into the flow, and since then things have really taken off. But the stakes, Freddie, are really going to go up. Lakewood to Jay Sarah is a monstrous jump, and on the road it's a monstrous jump. Now, if you want to really,
but I'll tell you what I like though. We talk about scores and comparing scores. You look at the way Crespi handles Santa Margarita, a team from the Trinity, 38-13.
Right.
Now, Santa Margarita is a team that gave Jay Sarah played Jay Sarah a little closer than that last week. That Bishop Amat game against Crespi, I mean, that was the one that went back and forth that Amat could have won.
Santa Margarita beat
and you look at Sarah, what they're able to do to Corona Centennial, a team that lost by 1 point to Bishop Gorman at one point. I just think that these guys, they're proving they can play with anyone.
Yeah.
But it's...
Well, this is really it. I mean, the ultimate determiner of these things is, do they have a realistic chance of winning the division? And if they can win next week and go to the semifinals, you can't argue that they don't. So, hey,
I look at all 8 of these teams left. To me, with the exception of Norco, probably, I think all of them are capable of winning it. All seven of the 8. Yeah, I don't think Norco can. But you look at all 7. I mean, Jay Serra and St. John Bosco, obviously still the 2 big favorites.
Yeah, so congratulations to Ahmad. Wow. The monkey is off their back, and we'll see what happens next week against Jay Serra. I believe Fred is going to head down there tomorrow to get ready for the game.
Yeah. After Mike the cousin's wedding, congratulations, Mike. Tomorrow morning, I gotta get up and go to Vegas in the morning and come back Sunday.
Right. Okay.
Let's talk about the fun division, Aaron. The Central.
The Central division tonight. This was a division that was really void of upsets tonight, except there was one that came darn close, and that was Monrovia going to overtime. Yeah, to beat Don Lugo after trailing well into the fourth quarter, 20-17. Monrovia gets a 42-yard field goal to tie the game at 20. They go to overtime. They intercept Don Lugo. They get the ball. Then they score a touchdown themselves. They win 26-20. Now, here's the interesting thing. The game I covered tonight, Los Altos against South Hills. Ryan Maddox, who was the coach at Monrovia up until last year and won those 3 CIF championships. He is in administration at South Hills. And I was talking to Coach Maddox, and I said, he was kind of standing, a few yards ahead of me, and I was kind of feeding scores and saying things behind him, to kind of mess with him. And I was saying to him, and this is what I had said on a podcast earlier this week over on Sports Scene TV, this is the thing. Previous years, Monrovia in the first and second round was playing teams like, Sure, Alhambra, Montebello, South El Monte. Right. Tonight, in this division, here's the new thing for this team. You got to be ready from the word go. They weren't getting a good game in the playoffs, Freddie, until the semifinals or even the finals in the Mid-Valley division. Tonight, you're playing a Don Lugo team that top to bottom, 1 through 11, is going to be much better than what they saw in the Mid-Valley division. It was kind of
like how I joked about, I looked at the Mid-Valley division, which Monrovia was in last year, the top seed Paraclete. I was joking and said, well, you have to go through Bassett, now you got to go through Azusa to get to the semifinals. That's the kind of road that they had as a number 1 seed. You're not getting that in the Central. Don Lugo, they're no pushover. They show they're no pushover. Every round's going to be tough.
Worried me, though. This was what worried me about them tonight. And going forward is, do they understand that you're going to play 4 good games? But having said that, San Marino goes out and basically controls Claremont to set up a game next week at San Marino against Charter Oak, which won easy tonight over, what was it, Freddie, who they play?
Colton? Yeah, Charter Oak won 49-0.
Over Colton. So, Charter Oak had all these struggles this year, Fred. They had these moments that made you scratch your head. They didn't have the sexiest record going in, but here we are, and it's like, I guess Charter Oak. They win. They're going to play San Marino next week, even though it's on the road. They should be favored in that game. At the top of the bracket, Glendora wins, but they're without their QB.
24-14.
The kid that replaced him, this Ryan de Guzman, I'm reading tonight that he got hurt. Had to leave the game.
I
heard that he got hurt and had to leave the game. But Glendora wins. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. Glendora wins. Colony wins with the backup quarterback in. And now Glendora and Colony are going to play next week for the right to play the San Marino Charter Oak winner in the semifinals. On the other side of the bracket, and I guess I shouldn't say that there were no upsets.
Bonita knocked out Kaiser.
They knocked them off.
45-14.
So I'm wrong about that. And Kaiser was a seeded team, and Bonita was an at-large. And Bonita goes there and wins easy. Angel Verdugo, the running back. Huge night tonight. Bonita's alive. And now look, Bonita's playing West Covina in a rematch of the 2010 Southeast Division Championship game next week. That's a huge one if you're looking for a place to go next week. And then you have South Hills playing Monrovia. Los Altos playing Monrovia in a rematch of a game that took place.
Los Altos will be home this time.
In a game that took place earlier this year that Monrovia won 27-25. I don't want to get too far into the game that I was at tonight, and I really don't care about the games you guys were at tonight either, other than the scores. You know what I'm saying? But tonight, it was what you expected. South Hills, Los Altos, 2 grinder teams. They grinded on each other. Los Altos was the team that could make the bigger play. They made the 4 or 5 bigger plays. They got up 28-3. They end up winning 28-10. There you have it. Los Altos, a team that played with desperation the last 2 weeks of the season, Fred. Yeah. Now they're in.
They're going to be a scary team to me.
The second place team in the Hacienda League, West Covina, they move on. The first place team from that league, Charter Oak, they move on.
Yes.
Okay, so good showing tonight by the Hacienda League. And this division, at least for our purposes, you couldn't ask for anything better.
Hacienda goes 3 for 3. Yes.
Yes, 3 for 3.
Yeah, and the Palomares, how did they do? Bonita gets in.
And I think that's
just in Glendora, yeah. You know what I like about this division? I'm looking at it real quick, and I'll give you the Elite 8.
7 of the 8 teams are local.
That Glendora at Colony, Charter Oak at San Marino, right. West Covina at Bonita, Monrovia at Los Altos. I look at all 8 of these teams, and all 8 of them have a chance to win.
Yes, you're right.
All 8 of them have a chance to win. Every one of these games you can make an argument for. There's no team that's going to blow. That's just way better than anyone else. This is exciting because from this point on, anything can happen. I mean, I had West Covina and Charter Oak in the finals, but it could be anything. We'll see what happens.
Can you imagine the setting now for some of these games? Yeah. You're talking about West Covina, Bonita. That'll be a great setting. San Marino, Charter Oak. That'll be a great setting. Monrovia, Los Altos. That'll be a great setting. And Glendora,
those are 3
Colony.
Great games.
I mean, you
how do you pick your games next week? Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. You flip coins.
A lot of Trib Passover specials, huh?
Yeah. Okay. Now let's get to the Mid Valley division. Freddie, I'll let you do the honors with the scores here.
Let's go over the scores that we have. Okay, so Paraclete beat Bassett as expected, 44-0. Montebello 24-17 over La Puente. Pomona won 65-0 over Krista.
Krista McCall, yeah.
Over Krista.
San Dimas beat Baldwin Park. I thought I'd let you have that again. 59-20. So Baldwin San Dimas doing what they do in the playoffs. Rosemead in the back and forth games beats Covina 31-27.
That was a game of the night in that division.
Yeah, and in the Mid Valley, I think other winners tonight, and I
think Sierra Canyon advanced easy.
Yeah, Sierra Canyon advanced easy, and we know Northview beat Brentwood from the night before, and Azusa beat El Monte. So what you got, your Elite 8 is Azusa at Paraclete, Northview at Montebello, Pomona at San Dimas, which to me is the game of that bracket next week, and Rosemead at Sierra Canyon. No, I think Pomona San Dimas is the Stevie special. Maybe next week. Northview's at Montebello. That's a pretty good one. I think maybe we could skip the Azusa at Paraclete and Rosemead at Sierra Canyon.
Stevie, you don't want to go to Lancaster for a little Antelope Valley College special?
No. But this is everything's going exactly sort of how you expected it in this division.
Right.
Not a lot of surprise. Pomona's still looking awfully good. San Dimas awfully good against Baldwin Park. Northview looked good. Steve saw them last night. I think they've got a good matchup for them at Montebello in the next round. I mean, this is really looking like. Go ahead.
They beat Montebello pretty soundly
earlier in the year. Right?
I think it was the second week 2. I think.
Yes, I mean you're getting really set for a Paraclete Northview. Yeah. Sierra Canyon, and then the real toss-up game is the Pomona San Dimas one.
Congrats to Montebello and Rosemead, 2 teams that we talked about, at least on the field, didn't win a non-league game. They come out, they win their leagues, they sweep their leagues, and they both win playoff games tonight. So they're going to be up against it next week, but congratulations to them. That's how you finish a season and do damage in the playoffs. La Habra tonight lost in the... I'm trying to remember what Southwest Division.
44-42.
Yeah, to Capistrano Valley.
I can't remember the last time they lost in the first round.
Wasn't it last year?
I thought they went to the second round last year.
Oh, did they lose in the second round last year? Yeah. I know they lost early last year, but nonetheless, in the preview for that game, I had kind of written that La Habra can't stop anybody. Every time they had played, a team with a good offense this year, they had given up some points.
Yeah.
Rough one tonight to lose. I don't know what to say. I mean, I really don't. This was a program that had done really well. I mean, last year, you're right, Stevie, they lose in the second round to Newport Harbor. So, we're accustomed, to seeing La Habra go deep and 13, 14 game seasons, and that's not happening the last couple of years.
It's still a decent program, but you're right. In the early to mid 2000s, they were the program of the area who's winning CIF titles.
Right.
And the last few years, I think from about 4 years ago, they've kind of dropped off a bit. They're still the class of their league.
I'll tell you two teams that, Northwest Division, two teams that survived tough at-large teams from the Northern Division. Maranatha, they stayed undefeated with Steve Bogan. Now they go to 11-0. They beat Mission Prep, traditionally a pretty good team, and they beat them 47-21. And Pasadena Poly gets Morro Bay. I think everyone knew that was going to be a really tough game. Poly beats them 7-0 to advance. So you got Poly Maranatha.
Wow.
7-0. Poly Maranatha now. Both 11-0. Yeah. I mean, that would be exciting for the area if those teams keep going.
If there's a better team in the Northwest than Maranatha, I'd like to see that team.
Really, you were impressed.
I was really impressed.
Caleb Devine blew your socks off.
Caleb Devine.
You realize that kid's got like 24 TDs this year going into tonight.
And
wow. And he leads the team in tackles.
Yeah, and the quarterback Eli Snyder.
Well, have you seen Paul? Poly's been pretty good too this year, though. They've ran off some teams. If you look at the score.
Have.
Now Cantwell, Sacred Heart lost to Arrowhead Christian 48-19. So Maranatha's going to be at Arrowhead Christian next week. Maybe that's a trip you want to make, Steve.
Up the mountain.
Ooh, no, actually that's in.
Where's Arrowhead Christian?
It's not in Arrowhead. I don't think.
Okay.
I think it's.
It's not in Big Bear?
Rio Hondo Prep, if you're wondering, they play Big Bear tomorrow, Saturday, at 1 o'clock at Big Bear Middle School if you want to make the trip up the mountain. So there you go.
Well, hey, that's good news. That's good info there, Freddie. People can get their action tomorrow.
Yeah.
Guys, let's get right into biggest surprises, biggest disappointments of the night of the first round.
Well, I think the biggest disappointment is
we might have some
unanimous.
Right.
I mean, La Mirada not taking care of business. It's one thing to be the 2 seed and be one of the consensus favorites, but to get knocked out in the first round like this, that's without a doubt the biggest disappointment of the night.
Yeah.
Arrowhead Christian, by the way, is in Redlands.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. Well,
so Stevie, you'll see you there.
No, I'm sure that our sister paper, The Sun, will cover that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a Lou Brewster special.
Okay.
All right. Well, what's your biggest surprise, Freddie?
Biggest surprise of the night was that Don Lugo was within a 42-yard field goal of upsetting number 2 Monrovia, who I think a lot of people thought is going to go deep, and they still might.
Yeah.
But I thought that would be a runaway game for them. I mean, I was a big surprise that it was even close.
For me, it's Bonita just whacking Kaiser pretty good. I mean,
that Suncast League went 0 for 3. Maybe it has something to do with them too.
No, but I mean the way Bonita has played the second half of the season.
Those are strange teams. Bonita, Los Altos. I mean, they look super one week and terrible the next. I mean, you catch them on the wrong week, they're going to beat you. Right. I mean, those are two teams. They're capable of winning this thing if they get hot. They've shown it throughout the year, but they're also capable of just getting smashed and having a bad game. It's I mean, you look at Bonita now, who when they lost that game to Claremont. And then I heard Madrano really was they were giving him the business leaving the field, and he was giving the business back, and here they are.
Good for you, Coach.
Yeah, I would be walking by those same parents or fans and just smiling at them, just waiting for them to say something again. Come on, Adrian, just kind of look at him and what?
Madrano's an intense dude on the sideline, man. It's good to see.
They're giving him the business, and that's an exciting game. Bonita West Covina.
Heck yeah, it is.
That's
last time they played, it was a classic.
Yeah.
What's your biggest disappointment, Stevie, or should I just guess?
Well, no,
we're all written down for La Mirada.
It's La Mirada. I mean, just the way Salesian had played up to this point, and the way La Mirada had been playing all year, it's just shocking, and you just can't explain it.
Yeah. My biggest surprise, Bonita's win over Kaiser at large, going on the road against a seeded team. After what Fred had just mentioned, it looked like, I don't know, that the season, they got in, but, it looked like a lot of people within the program, at least, as far as fans, that kind of, closed the door on them. And then they come out and they bust it wide open. And now here they are in a game against West Covina.
At home.
It's certainly doable.
Yeah.
And everyone will be right back on that bandwagon. And my biggest disappointment, obviously, I join you guys, La Mirada. I don't know how it could be anything else tonight. that may not be the biggest shocker to all of, to a lot of people, but it's a shocker nonetheless to see this happen tonight. I guess that's a good place to leave it.
3 great. Again, I think next week, I'm looking game of the week. What do you like, Aram? Charter Oak at San Marino?
Yeah, I'll be there.
St. Francis at La Serna or Monrovia at Los Altos?
Charter Oak, San Marino.
Yeah, that is a game.
Yeah,
that is a game.
That should be a shootout. San Marino.
That's a great. I think that's the best game. I'm looking at all of them. Yeah. Just because it's kind of interesting. I don't remember the last time when these two teams played each other, and they're both playing really well right now. Right. That's exciting.
Right. Okay, so those are your storylines tonight. La Mirada upset. St. Francis quarterback Jeremiah Martin likely out for the rest of the playoffs with a collarbone injury. Bishop Amat shuts the fat man up with a Pac-5 playoff win, and Bonita upsets Kaiser. As an at-large in the Central Division. The Central Division is now 7 local teams out of 8, and Colony just right out there on the fringe, making up for the 8th. Exciting night. Then obviously last night we had the news about Pomona head coach Aaron Jameson being put on administrative leave. He did not coach tonight, pending an investigation for a violation or a reason that was not disclosed to us. We'll see how all that plays out. But Robert Keith Richardson steps in tonight, leads the Red Devils to a big win over Freddie's favorite.
I think Stevie Ramirez could have stepped in tonight and led that team to a 2-0 victory.
Hey, man, Barry Switzer led the Cowboys to a championship, so it's possible.
Aram, how do you think Charter Oak's feeling about getting San Marino in a second round when they're used to playing Corona Centennials and Uplands or Rancho Cucamonga?
Yeah, right.
Boy, they're going, man, this new division is something else. We get in the second round.
Honestly, I'll tell you what I bet Big Lou would say, and it's probably what I'd say. Hey, San Marino, they're the bigger team. No, seriously. They may not be the more athletic team, but I bet you they're damn comparable along the line of scrimmage because Charter Oak, they're not that big. But, hey, man, coaching takes you far. And look, man, you don't realize Lou Ferrar's chasing another ring here. It's a doable thing. They got to win next week. They got to win 2 more. But what a year it could be for Charter Oak if they're able to win with this team.
And the interesting is going to be Glendora at Colony, the 2 team without their starting quarterbacks going at it to see who's better. And maybe Glendora minus 2 quarterbacks. That we don't know. But those are 2 teams that were 1 and 2 in the division all year. Up until Glendora lost that final game to South Hills. So
first round of the playoff, folks. It's in the books. Every year it produces some crazy, crazy things. This year was no different. Get on the blogs and talk about it. There's lots to talk about. For the players that saw their seasons and their careers or their years end, we say thank you. Better luck next time or in the future. Sad to see you go. Obviously, appreciate all the effort. But for the guys that are moving on, it just gets more and more exciting now, and the stakes go up even more, and we'll all feel it next week as we get ready for the second round. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Get on the blogs. Let us know what you thought about everything, and we'll be back early next week with 2-minute drills and whatnot to talk about the second round. Congrats, Mikey the cousin.
That's right. On my way to Vegas.